On July 3rd, 2014, 15-year-old Megan Nichols withdrew money from her bank account, left her cell phone behind in her bedroom, and wrote a note to her mother stating that she was running away and not to look for her. That would be the last time that family and friends would ever see or hear from Megan Nichols ever again. A few years later, in December of 2017, Megan's remains were found in a shallow grave. Since 2017, there have been no new leads in this case until last week, in October of 2020, an arrest was finally made for Megan's murder. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into the disappearance and the murder of 15-year-old Megan Nichols. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by and watching. I'm Brooke, and this is Murder in the Midwest. As the name of my channel implies, I talk about unsolved murders that have occurred in the Midwest. Since I grew up in a small town in Illinois, I am partial to focusing on unsolved crimes that have occurred in small towns. I also like to focus on cold cases or unsolved cases that I just don't feel like got enough media attention when they occurred. So my hopes are through people watching and sharing the videos that will get new tips into these cases and hopefully get them solved. As always, guys, if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Also the little bell button down below. That way you will always get notification of when I post new videos, which is every Wednesday morning. Just last week, there was a huge break in this case, and this is a first for me. So I started researching Megan's previously unsolved murder about a month ago, and I was going to film it and post it probably mid-November 2020. And then last week, a huge break in the case. There was a gentleman that was arrested for her murder. So I decided to up it, talk about it now, drop this episode early because it's just so interesting, and I'm so excited that an arrest has finally been made. So let's go back, and I want to walk through what exactly happened to Megan and, what has been occurring in the time since she disappeared. Megan Nichols was your typical 15-year-old girl. She had a lot of friends, she was close to her parents, and in the months leading up to her murder, there was really nothing odd or strange going on in her life. The only thing that caused a little bit of friction between her and her mother's name is Kathy Jo, was the fact that Megan, who was a sophomore, she had been seeing a senior boy who was 18 years old. And Kathy Jo didn't like this boy for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons that she stated in an interview to True Crime Daily was that she knew this boy had been cheating on Megan. So she was like, you know what, Megan, you just need to stop seeing him, cut him out. He's using you and this other girl. It had caused some tension, of course, between Megan and her mother, to the point Kathy Jo had actually taken away Megan's phone for a while. But on July 3rd, Kathy said that things were really great between her and Megan at that point. She believed that Megan was no longer seeing this boy, and she had earned Kathy Jo's trust back. Kathy Jo had given her cell phone. She thought everything was good. So early afternoon on July 3rd, Megan had told her mother that she was gonna go for a bike ride, which Kathy Jo was fine with. She's like, great, have fun, just don't do anything you're not supposed to do. Megan was gone for a bit, came back home. Her and Kathy Jo decided to run some errands and go shopping. So they headed out, they're shopping, they're about an hour into it when Megan suddenly said, you know what, my stomach hurts. Would you mind if you took me home? I just really want to lay down. I'm not feeling that well. Kathy Jo didn't mind at all, so she drove Megan back to their house. She said Megan hugged her, told her she loved her, and that would be the last time that Kathy Jo would see Megan alive again. So Kathy Jo went back out, finished her errands, and she got home about an hour later. Now, Megan lived with her mother, Kathy Jo, and her stepfather in Fairfield, Illinois. So Fairfield is in southern Illinois. It's a small town of about 5,000 people, and it is in Wayne County. So again, one of those towns where everybody knows everybody, very safe community. So Kathy gets home. She assumes that Megan is up in her bedroom, laying down because she didn't feel good. And after a few hours, something told Kathy Jo, you know what, I really need to go check on Megan. So about 11 p.m., Kathy Jo knocks on Megan's door. Megan doesn't answer. So Kathy Jo goes into the room and Megan's not there. So of course, Kathy Jo is panicking. Like, where did Megan go? What is going on? What's happened? Kathy Jo pulled back the comforter on Megan's bed, and that's where she found Megan's cell phone. Now, as anybody knows, the cell phone is a lifeline of a teenager. So when you see that they've left their cell phone behind, of course that's gonna, cause some confusion or a reaction. So Kathy Jo picks up Megan's phone and she sees that it's been wiped clean. So all the pictures are off of it, all the texts are off of it. It has been restored to factory settings. So she's panicking. Kathy Jo actually calls her mother to come over to the house because she wasn't sure what to do. Like, do I call the authorities? Did Megan just run away? Is this just gonna be like for the night? Like, what is going on? So she's frantic. Kathy Jo's mother comes over to their house. She said, you know what? Let's just go up in Megan's bedroom and let's just pray. Let's calm down. So they go up to Megan's room. They kneel down by Megan's bed. And that's when Kathy Jo spots the letter. So she pulls out this letter that's written on a piece of notebook paper, and I will put up a picture of this letter. Kathy Jo said it was written in Megan's handwriting, so she does believe that Megan physically wrote the note, but she said the wording on it just didn't sound like something that Megan would put in her note. So this is what the note said. Mom, I love you, but I'm never going to be happy here. Don't come looking for me, because why spend a lifetime looking for someone who doesn't want to be found? So that's startling. So of course she, from the note and from the cell phone being left behind, of course she's thinking she ran away. She doesn't know what to do. She starts, texting her friends. One of her friends suggests, you know what, did you look at Megan's bank account? Maybe there's been some activity on that. Maybe you'll see something there. So Kathy logs into their online banking and she can see Megan's account, and she sees that yes, there had been money withdrawn about 2 p.m. on July 3rd, which is when Megan went on her bike ride. So this is when obviously Kathy alerts authorities. She gives them the phone. She tells them what she found out with the bank account. They actually get the surveillance video from the ATM, and yep, there's Megan on the surveillance video on her bicycle withdrawing that money. And then after July 3rd, no more activity on that bank account. They were able to get Megan's phone records though, and they could see that the last 3 phone calls that Megan had called were actually to this boy that Kathy Jo thought she was no longer seeing. So obviously heavy suspicion falls on this 18-year-old boy. And again, small town, everybody knows everybody, everyone's talking, heavily suspecting this guy. To the point where this boy, whose father, side note, is an Illinois State police officer, the boy gets on Facebook and he says, okay, this has gone on long enough. I had nothing to do with this and that I have nothing to hide. I shouldn't even have to defend myself if I am not involved. So strong statement from him. He's claiming that he had no involvement in Megan's disappearance whatsoever. And again, people are wondering, because his father is an Illinois State police officer, is he being protected? Now, authorities at the time said that this boy was not a suspect and he wasn't being looked at as such. So at this point, they are having search parties or trying to contact anybody and everybody that they think could have had contact with Megan just to determine where she's at. Remember, they think at this point she's ran away. So weeks go by, months go by, there's no sign of Megan at all. Her clothing is never found. There's no more activity on her bank account. Remember, she doesn't have her cell phone, so they can't track, her through the Find My Cell Phone app or a GPS of any sort. The boy has claimed that he had nothing to do with her disappearance, that he didn't see her. So they really have no leads on this. They have nowhere to go. So her family is truly in agony over this. And 3.5 years later, a very long 3.5 years later, on December 26, 2017, the family would get the answer that they didn't want, but at least it would provide some closure for them. So December 26, a lady named Jackie Beck and her boyfriend were cutting up firewood, and they live on a farm that's in rural Fairfield, Illinois. It's not that far from Megan's home, but they're out in the woods chopping up wood, and they find, wrapped in a blanket in a shallow grave, a skull, and bones. So immediately they're freaked out. They call the police come, and of course it takes some time to do DNA testing, but a few weeks later in January of 2018, authorities do positively identify the remains as belonging to Megan Nichols. So now we know that Megan has gone from being, a possible runaway or disappearance to now that this is a murder. So what happened to Megan? So again, after, her remains are positively identified in January of 2018, there's not been a lot of public activity on the case. Obviously, there were some things going on behind the scenes, and I'm very curious as to what made the police start to target the gentleman that was eventually arrested for her murder. So that brings us up to the arrest. So in late September of 2020, a grand jury indicted a guy, his name is Brodey Ian, and I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, Murbarger. Brodey Ian Murbarger. They indict him on 6 counts, including the suffocation, strangulation of Megan Nichols. So now he's been indicted. So now police just have to find Brodey and arrest him. So on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020, police tracked down Brodey in Evansville, Indiana. They actually searched his apartment first, and then they arrested him outside of his place of business with no incident, so he went calmly. Brodey is 24 years old and was being held in Indiana. He's now been extradited back to Wayne County, so he is in Illinois at this time. The FBI was involved in this, and they're being very tight-lipped. They would not confirm that Brodey was in fact the boy that Megan was seen back in 2014. But literally every other news outlet has said, yes, this is the boy that she was seeing. In fact, one of her classmates gave an interview to a news outlet saying, yep, none of us are surprised that Brodey was arrested. We've always suspected it was him. It's great to have this closure on the case. But yeah, no surprises there. So apparently Brodey was a senior, like I said, when Megan was a sophomore. They went to high school together. At that time, Brodey lived in Fairfield, and obviously in the years since had moved over to Indiana. But an arrest is made. So that's where we're at with the case now. If anything happens between my filming this and posting it next week, I will definitely do an update. I am very curious to see how Brodey pleads. I hope if the state has strong evidence, as I think they probably do, I hope that he just pleads guilty. For her family's sake, so that they don't have to go through a trial, because if he pleads not guilty, the way that these things move with our criminal justice system being so slow, it would probably be at least 4 to 5 years before this would even go to trial. So I'm really hoping that he just pleads guilty. And of course, I know everybody's considered innocent until they are convicted or they confess. But I just feel like there's been a lot of smoke around Brodey, and where there's smoke, there's fire. And the fact that everybody suspected him from the beginning, and something obviously had to have happened within the last year or so for the police to all of a sudden focus on him. Because the authorities, remember, back in the day said, nope, he's not a suspect, we're not looking at him. So something happened. Here's the questions that I have about this case and that I would love to see this unfold. One, what exactly is the evidence that the state has on him that led to his arrest? Would love to know that. 2, did Megan actually run away from home, or was she sort of forced or coerced by Brodey? Maybe they had a plan in place and obviously something went very wrong, but why did he kill her? I don't understand, especially if they were seeing each other. I have read some comments on Reddit, and this is prior to Brodey being arrested. This was when this was still unknown. But a lot of people said, since she said she wasn't feeling good that day, was that just a lie for her to get back home? Or did she really not feel good? Perhaps she was pregnant, and maybe did she tell Brodey and he freaked out and killed her? The grand jury indictment is saying that he strangled and suffocated her. So those are the charges, 2 of the charges against him. So was there something like that? Is that the reason that he killed Megan? Like, what possibly could the reason have been? I'm also wondering, did Megan really write that note? Or again, was she forced to write that? Did he tell her what to say? I think it's very suspect that not only was Megan's cell phone left behind, because what 15-year-old girl is going to leave her cell phone behind, right? That's your lifeline when you're a teenager, even as an adult. But the fact that it was wiped clean and restored to factory settings. there must have been some incriminating evidence on there that the murderer did not want police to find. And maybe, you know, if Brodey is in fact the killer, maybe he didn't realize, hey, police can still pull phone records and see who she called. I don't know. Or were there texts on there that he was trying to erase, or some, I don't know. I just feel like there has to be some sort of incriminating evidence to not just leave the phone behind, but wipe it clean. I'm also curious about, where did the money go and how much money did Megan actually withdraw? You know, I'm gonna assume that Brodey took that money from her. So was that the case? Did he just want money from her? Like, what was going on? What was going through his head? So like I said, just a lot of questions there around that. I'm very, very curious to see how he pleads. I will definitely keep you all updated in this case. But you know, one reason to highlight this is because I feel like, even though this did occur, you know, 6 years ago, she disappeared July 3rd, 2014. So it's actually been a little over 6 years. There's always hope to keep these cases alive. And it's always, I think, beneficial to keep them in the media and keep people talking about them, because you just never know, like I said, where a tip is gonna come from, or who's gonna see something and remember something, or maybe somebody has always known and this just gives them the little push to, you know, call the police or even call Crime Stoppers and leave an anonymous tip. So when I see cases like this that have been unsolved for years and then finally an arrest is made, it just makes me very hopeful for those other cases out there. So guys, like I said, I will definitely keep you updated on this case as new developments happen. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Again, if you like what you see, make sure that you hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, and please share this video as well if you like what you see. It's always great to get new followers and new subscribers. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter if you want to follow me on social media. They are both Murder in the Midwest, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for watching.